all are welcome here, all are best, and a blessing to be. Beloved community, where we discover divinity, uncovering who we are in our beloved community. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you've come from, doesn't matter what you've undone. All that matters is you're here now. Keep an open heart, let Spirit work it out. Beloved community, we gather in unity. All are welcome here, all are best, and a blessing to be. Beloved community, where we discover divinity, uncovering who we are in our beloved community. Doesn't matter where you've come from, it doesn't matter what you've undone. All that matters is you're here now. Keep an open heart, let Spirit work it out. Doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what you've undone. All that matters is you're here now. Keep an open heart, let Spirit work it out. Beloved community, we gather in unity. All are welcome here, all are best, and a blessing to be. Beloved community, where we discover divinity, uncovering who we are in our beloved community. Uncovering who we are, uncovering who we are in our beloved community. One more time. Uncovering who we are in our beloved community.
Thank you. That's the perfect way to begin this morning because this is our beloved community. So welcome every single one of you. I'm Reverend Tara Steele. I'm a minister here at the center. And I'm going to invite you all to make yourself at home here. And live streamers, wherever you're streaming in from around the world, you are also very welcome to our beloved community. If you have questions about what's happening at our center, we have a website, which is CSLSR.org with some W's in front if you want to make it formal. If you go to our homepage, you'll see a typewriter, and that's where you find our monthly bulletin that gives you information about all that's going on here at our center. So I invite you to have a look. We have a robust youth and family program here at the center, from babies up through teens. We have vibrant classes with 15 to 30 children every Sunday. And that's in part because of Jennifer over there. Jennifer, would you stand up, please? If you have questions about youth and family programs or would like to volunteer with these amazing, amazing people, children, but people also, please see Jennifer. Spiritual education is one of the pillars of our center. And we have a catalog which will tell you what's happening between now and the end of the year. There are classes, workshops, and book studies, and it's another way to engage with your friends and your folks who are going to become your friends as you engage in classes with them. If you have any questions about what's going on in that area of education, please check in with Reverend Russ, who can answer your questions. Now, if you would, please join me in speaking aloud our vision and mission. The Center for Spiritual Living is a spiritual community that promotes global transformation through personal transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Motivated by a compelling global vision that inspires us to bring the gifts of compassion, integrity, and loving kindness to the world through our programs and teaching. Together, we are helping create a world that works for everyone. The global vision is actually much more detailed than what we read each morning. Here's a piece of it. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We follow this vision through 5 core spiritual practices of our teaching. Would you please read them with me? Spiritual study, affirmative prayer, meditation, selfless service, spiritual circulation. We would now like to extend a warm welcome to our first-time visitors. First-time visitors, please stand if you choose or raise your hand, and we will bring you a flower and a welcome packet as a token of our welcome. Please remain standing or keep your hand raised so we can find you. And if you are one of our virtual visitors and you are watching online for the first time, please let us know by noting that in chat. We are so grateful to have you involved in our community. I know that somewhere in the music, meditation, prayer, practices, and Reverend Russ's talk today is exactly what you need to experience the next step in your spiritual unfoldment. You are welcome to our beloved spiritual community. Now, please enjoy some music before a short time of silent contemplation and prayer.
I speak my truth like a melody. I shine my light with serenity. I'm showing up authentically. I'm growing into a new frequency. When I use my voice, I am releasing I am gifting my vibration into the universe. I dance my truth like an easy breeze. I show my strength with humility. I am releasing I am gifting my vibration into the universe. I am releasing I am releasing I am gifting my vibration into the universe. I speak my truth like a melody.
There is only one life. It shows up in many ways, as multidimensional creations, as a divine essence, as ferociousness, as gentle flowing. It shows up as love infusing every part of life. It is the one source, the one power, the one ground of being from which all else comes. It is whole, perfect, and complete, no matter how it looks, appropriate for every moment, and incessantly flowing. I am united with that spirit, that power, that one source, as is each person in this sanctuary and online throughout the universe. Each of us a representation of that divine, showing up as beauty and harmony and balance, vitality, love, and peace. Walking our daily routine, making sure that people know who the divine is through each of us, oneness. I accept for this service this morning the enthusiasm of community, the enthusiasm of being one with each of us as it shows up through the music, the prayer, the announcements, the message. Each one of us giving, receiving, forgiving, and simply accepting what is, enjoying this movement and moment of allness. I give grateful thanks for this time, and I simply release this word into the law, which always acts as it is directed. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Good morning. I'm Peggy Weber, one of the practitioners here at the center. Would you please join me reading the affirmation that is in front of you? I step into action and create an inclusive world.
All right, I have a feeling some of you are going to know this song, so feel free to sing.
love your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, oh please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart. And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by, still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. You want the world to know we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart. And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Wait and see. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart. And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. People now, put a little love in your heart each and every day. Put a little love in your heart. There's no other way. Put a little love in your heart. It's up to you. Put a little love in your heart. Come on and put a little love in your heart. You've got to put a little love in your heart.
Nothing like starting off with a little Jackie DeShannon, right? Thank you, Astra and Chris and Fran and Brett and Nick. So this month is the unstatus quo, and I thought it would be good for all of us to put a little love in our heart. Because the idea behind this theme is for us to talk about and share and explore topics that are sometimes more challenging to dive into. So I'm going to start us out today with a story from Parker Palmer. And he says, I grew up in an all-white suburb and attended a college that had only 2 black students during my 4 years there. I never knew a person of color up close and personal until I went to Union Theological Seminary in New York City at age 22. As part of my first-year program, I was assigned to do field work at Riverside Church, a large urban congregation that offered extensive social services and had a sizable staff. My fieldwork supervisor was a youth minister, one of the best teachers I've ever known, and an African American. One day, as he began a training session for the union students working at Riverside, all of us white, he said, I want to tell you a story. As you see, I'm dressed casually for a morning of basketball with some of the kids. Later, I'll get suited up to make a few pastoral calls at their homes. An hour ago, I got on the elevator to go up to my office. Just before the door closed, one of the senior ministers got on. I've worked here for a couple of years, but I guess my white brother didn't recognize me in my civvies. Before he got off, he smiled and said, There's a clogged toilet down the hall from my office. I'd be grateful if you could fix it this morning. We don't need to talk about this right now, but I want you to remember that story as you go out to work with our kids, many of whom look like me. And I don't want you to forget it, ever. Now, this story that Parker Palmer shares, it turns out, is all too common. The impact of othering, which is our topic today, is profound. So I'll be sharing a lot of Parker Palmer's wisdom today because more so than any other author that I'm aware of, I find him to be one of the most experienced and lucid in how we can approach this thing called othering. Now, in contemporary society, othering refers to the process of perceiving or portraying someone or a group of people as different or alien to the dominant group. Typically, this will emphasize things like race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexuality, or social status. And someone might ask, well, what's wrong with that? And it goes wrong when the othering is intended, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, to marginalize or dehumanize the targeted group. Othering can lead to exclusion, to discrimination, and a reinforcement of stereotypes. And it tends to create division and inequality in society. Arguably, the most well-known example of othering in our recent history is how Nazi Germany negatively emphasized differences in culture, looks, religion, and sexual orientation to stir up support for the extermination of Jews and homosexuals. Now, the Holocaust was a tragedy, and it's something that we can't ever allow to happen again. But othering shows up in many ways still today, and it's not always so overt. And when it does show up, it leaves a mark, a lasting mark. It leaves an unhealed wound that can stay with us in the form of trauma. I remember, for example, when I was a little boy growing up with my grandparents, and I would often spend the summers with them in Waupun, Wisconsin, which was this tiny little farm town with about 5,000 people in it. I think maybe it's got 6,000 people in it today. And I spent a lot of time with my first cousins. And because I was the youngest and the smallest, and I'm guessing because I was also a bit new, I would only be there for the summers, I got bullied by them. They picked on me, and there would be verbal bullying, get roughhoused and beat up, and I was often the target of their othering. Because to them, I suspect I was the other. They used the ways that I was different from them and from what they perceived to be acceptable, to be good, so that they could gain dominance over me. Now, I don't have blame in my heart for them for this. I've long since forgiven them because I suspect that their bullying was really just the continued passing forward of the othering that they probably were experiencing in their lives too. But it left its mark on me, and it left its mark on me for much of my life. And for much of our recent human history, it seems like bullying has just, it's been considered to be just kids being kids, right? You've heard that phrase before, right? It's just kids being kids, as though this is some natural part of adolescence. But luckily, though, in recent years, our governments, our school systems have been recognizing the problem with bullying, and they've been seeking to root it out of our schools, to root it out of a child's experience when they're growing up, because it is so insidious when it happens. It can be extremely damaging to a child's long-term sense of self-esteem. There's a lot of more work to be done, because when this kind of othering remains unresolved, then it can find its way into every aspect of our lives. In fact, I find some irony in this. In my own work with diversity, equity, and inclusion, I've sometimes witnessed othering that happens from well-meaning groups that it turns out are also working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this tends to happen when their members will encounter those who they feel are their enemy or who they disagree with, they feel are wrong, and they will use shame to be corrective in that moment. And I like to call this othering of those who other, which is still othering. And the way I've noticed this manifest is that it can completely shut down a conversation. It can shut down an opportunity for a new experience of understanding, of potential togetherness, because it's still making one group right at the expense of the group that is wrong. And it just exacerbates division. And yes, we may be right, but the approach matters. Because if my approach toward those who I believe to be incorrect includes shaming, includes name calling, includes canceling, includes behaviors that are othering, then healing is not going to take place. Ultimately, othering dehumanizes. It dehumanizes those whose differences we fear. Now, the science of mind, it teaches us a different path. It recognizes that we all come from the same creative mind that created literally everything. And thus we are and always will be a vital part of that creative mind. It teaches that because we are all different, we have a choice about how we get to approach our differences. We can choose to let our differences create division, to use them as a tool to justify dominating others. Or, like we're putting together many different unique puzzle pieces, we can choose to celebrate our differences, recognizing that it is the combination of all of our differences that creates something beautiful, that creates something lasting, that creates something larger than us. It can be a challenging choice. Sometimes, and I'm speaking for myself here, I notice that I've been conditioned to be fearful of the things that I perceive as different. Sometimes that conditioning is so strong that it can feel like it's impossible to connect. And so I find it so important to continuously build up my own recognition of my shared humanity with everyone who I see as different, especially the people who I might fear, the people who I disagree with. Our friend Parker Palmer says this about humanity: the more you know about another's story, the less fearsome and more human that person becomes. Simply put, othering puts up barriers to understanding. Even when I may actually be right, and believe me, my mind tells me when I'm right. When I engage in othering with those with whom I disagree, who I see as different because their beliefs might conflict with my own, then I'm putting up a wall that blocks the kind of understanding and humanization that can help to build a deeper bond. It turns out that what's needed is less shame and more curiosity. Knowing that I have a choice between shame that can sometimes be guided by fear versus curiosity that's often guided through compassion. Well, then I ask the question, how can I do my work to lessen the impact of othering in the world? Just like our affirmation said, how can I help our world to be a more inclusive place? Now, in my own work on this, there are 3 tips that I've found to be particularly helpful. And the first is looking within myself to see, where am I othering and Where do I sometimes feel as though I am othered? The second tip is then working to heal those parts of myself that I discover that are feeling othered or feel like they have to other to defend themselves. And I can heal them through spiritual practice. I can heal them through therapy. The third, cultivating a sense of radical curiosity about those whose differences I tend to fear or misunderstand. Now, this first step, it goes like this. I like to check in with myself and notice the situations that tend to make me feel as though I am othered. Situations where I feel a little less than human. And they don't have to be extreme. Sometimes it's just a feeling of not fitting in, a feeling of not belonging. For example, Parker Palmer shares a story about when he was a boy. His father took him to the south side of Chicago where he witnessed that the residents were predominantly black and predominantly impoverished. Later that day, as they were downtown on Michigan Avenue, which is a very affluent and was predominantly white at the time part of town, his father asked him, how did he feel when he was on the south side? Parker responded by saying that he felt out of place, nervous, and afraid. And as he was being asked this, there was a group of black students who were going into a community college to pursue their studies. And his father responded to Parker then by saying, well, that's probably what the black students over there feel as they're coming up here to the Magnificent Mile to study. I think this was a wise lesson that his father shared. By recognizing where we feel out of place, nervous, afraid, we can then work with ourselves through meditation, through affirmations, through prayer, to help heal any parts of us that have this internalized sense of being out of place, of being afraid of that which is different. For much of my life, often because of bullying, I felt out of place myself, and it had little to do with where I actually was physically. It was more so this internalized sense of not being enough, of somehow being unworthy, somehow being less than human. And then it turns out I would project my sense of not enoughness into the world through my behaviors that one might consider to be othering. Othering, it turns out, begets othering. So this recognition within ourselves of any shame, of any not enoughness, and any sense of, lack of self-worth, then that can help us to also recognize when others might be feeling that. And when we recognize it, that's when we can empathize. And it's that empathy for me that opens up my sense of curiosity about those that I might see as different. It also allows me to build a deeper bond because I can be vulnerable. I can lower my defenses. I can let people in. And the more I lower my defenses, the easier I think it makes for people to be able to approach me. So once I know where the othering is living in me, which usually is that form of shame or feeling out of place or unworthy, then I can focus my spiritual practices in a way that helps me to remember spiritual truth. And with that spiritual truth, I can bring healing to those parts of me that are still clinging to, still holding on to a feeling of fear, a feeling of being othered. And one of the most powerful truths that I know of in our teaching is that I am inherently good, just as you are inherently good. And that's regardless of the ways that I might feel out of place, that you might feel out of place or unworthy. Learning to recognize and enhance and stoke the fire of that feeling of inherent goodness within us is so powerful. In fact, it's so powerful that our senior minister, Dr. Edward, well, he wrote a book about it called Ordinary Goodness. Yes, Dr. Edward wrote literally the book about goodness. Love that. And it turns out that tomorrow he's teaching a class based on that book where we'll get a chance to learn about spiritual practices that can help us to unlock and grow that inherent sense of goodness and self-worth. I've found that the more I am able to recognize and accept my own inherent goodness, then the easier it becomes to recognize that goodness in others. Turns out that goodness begets goodness. And that makes connections so much easier, especially when I find myself afraid of someone's differences, someone's ways of being. So I'm really excited that this class is tomorrow, and I encourage everyone to sign up for it. Until then, though, I have a practice that we can do right now. What we can do, it's very simple and easy, is write an affirmation that affirms our goodness. Now, to do this, all we have to do is create 1 or 2 short sentences that are easy for us to believe and easy for us to remember. Also, it helps to have them in the present tense. So, for example, I like the affirmation, I am inherently good. I am worthy. Would you like to try repeating that with me right now? I am inherently good. I am worthy. Let's do it one more time. I am inherently good. I am worthy. Ooh, I can feel it up here. It's great. How does that feel? Yeah. If it felt good, if it felt like something that you can believe even just a little bit, then you can use it. If not, create one that works for you, something that's easy for you to believe, something that's easy for you to remember. It's in the present tense that affirms the truth that you are inherently good. These work because our minds respond to repetition, and as long as we're able to believe the affirmation even just a little bit, over time, those affirmations, when repeated, will help us to grow in our recognition of that inherent goodness. And this means that if we did still have some conditioning that might lead us to feel othered, to engage in othering, then we'll be less likely to react in a way that continues the othering, and more likely to react from a place of compassion, from a place of curiosity. So that leads me to my final tip. Cultivate a sense of curiosity about people that you find different. And one way that you can do this is by digging a little bit deeper than the surface level than people often present to you. We have a great opportunity to really get to know people based on their values rather than what they present to us on the surface. And I'm going to take this moment to get to know that the printer didn't print off all of my talk here. So just give me a moment to get my notes up here. Please don't other me while I do this. Oh, I love it. All right, here we go. Okay. So what I find particularly interesting as a focus for my curiosity is those values that I'm talking about. The values, that govern our lives. Because when I become curious about what other people believe, about what's going on for them in their lives, I often find that even though I might not believe the same thing as somebody else, even though I might think somebody's completely wrong, when I can discover the values that are behind the beliefs that guide their life, often I can find something that I can identify with. Knowing that we share values, even though they might be presenting in the world in different ways, it gives me something that I can connect with. And that helps me to humanize, to recognize the humanity in those who I find to be different. It leads me to want to other less. And I think it also makes me a little bit more approachable and less frightening as somebody who they probably disagree with too. Parker Palmer has this great bit of wisdom to share with us on this third point. Because at one point in his life, he was teaching children in Spanish Harlem, which is a historically Hispanic neighborhood in New York City. And he was having a really hard time teaching these students because they kept misbehaving and they just generally wanted nothing to do with what he was teaching. And one day he became so frustrated after about 5 weeks of this that he came into class and he broke down in tears. But that was a moment of humanity. Because in that moment, his children were able to see beyond the lesson that he was trying to teach, to see him. And they cared for him. And he learned then that he was effectively trying to colonize them with his lesson. Because he was teaching what he thought that they needed to learn. But it turns out the lessons that he were teaching were completely irrelevant to their very different and often much more challenging lives. And so he shares with us what he learned in what he calls the Spanish Harlem lesson, which goes like this. Lose the arrogant attitude that we know what they need to live a good life. Cultivate the humility that opens into a larger truth. I have a lot to learn, and they can help me learn it. All I need to do is ask. So this lesson, it sticks with me because when I first came here to our center, I gotta confess, I had a very rigid vision of what ministry was supposed to look like. And so I would often plow through it without really taking the time to understand what is our community all about. And one of the things that I'm so grateful Dr. Edward helped me with when he saw me stubbornly struggling, and I think he saw my inherent goodness in that moment where I couldn't, was to learn to ask and to connect through curiosity. And so I'd like to close our time today with a spiritual practice that uses our imagination that can help us to increase the degree of curiosity that we're able to employ in our life. So if it feels comfortable for you, I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes or soften your gaze and take a deep breath in, breathe out, and allow your awareness to float down into your heart area. And if it helps, you can place your hands over your heart to emphasize that connection. And imagine that in your heart, there is a fundamental goodness. It's a goodness that can never go away. Nothing can make this goodness go away. Notice that this goodness is also curious. It wants to know about and connect with the world and the people around you. Now imagine that this goodness, this curiosity, grows from your heart. Imagine that it touches the goodness and the curiosity of everyone in this room, everyone on our live stream. Notice how it feels for your goodness and curiosity to connect with everyone else's. Now allow your goodness and your curiosity to grow further, encompassing all of Santa Rosa, or if you're watching online, wherever you're at, eventually filling the whole state, filling the whole country, filling the whole world. Notice how your inherent goodness and curiosity activates the inherent goodness and curiosity of everyone that it touches. And in this state of connectedness, allow your imagination to draw a picture for you of a world where all of our inherent goodness and curiosity is activated and connected. Notice, how are we treating each other? Notice, how are we treating ourselves? Notice, how do we approach problems and challenges when they arise? I invite you to allow this vision of a world that naturally expresses its goodness and curiosity to remain with you as we enter into our time of prayer. And it's in this moment that there is only one thing that is happening, and it is goodness. It is curiosity. It is the wonder and the delight of this infinite divine mind that simply wish to find out what life is like through my eyes, through our eyes. And so I know that that goodness is present within each and every one of us, that it is ever the more expansive, that it is in fact infinite. There is no end to the goodness within us. And so I invite that goodness forth. I invite that curiosity that flows from that goodness forth. Knowing that as we take our next steps into the world today and beyond, that goodness, that curiosity is what can guide us. And so I invite each of our hearts to ponder allowing a little bit more goodness, a little bit more curiosity into the world, knowing that in the face of this goodness and this curiosity, the idea of other simply cannot exist. And I'm so grateful to witness this, to witness each of us as we courageously move through the world, seeing each and every person as our family, as kin, as not someone separate from us, but a vital piece of this divine puzzle that is called life. And so I am grateful, 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 grateful. With this gratitude, I release my word and I let it be. And I invite us all to seal it together by saying, and so it is. So I invite you to take another deep breath, breathing in. Let out a big sigh. And open your eyes. We use our breath to help to lead us from our talk into our practice of spiritual circulation. And for me, spiritual circulation's an affirmation. It's an affirmation of curiosity. It's an affirmation of goodness. Curiosity about just what our center can do when we are fully supported, and faith that the work that we do is rooted in that goodness that comes from our heart. So please know that your contributions to our community are invaluable. They are why our center is able to do what it's able to do. It's why we're able to do good work in the world. And your contributions help toward our center being financially stable as well as sustainable. So our goal here, if you haven't noticed, is that we want to stick around for a long time. And those gifts are a major part of why we are able to stick around and why they foster this community's longevity. So we're grateful for all that you can share with us. We do have a number of ways to give financially if you choose. There's our website, cslsr.org/donate. We have text to give, and we'll leave that phone number up there for you. It's very fast and easy. I use it myself. We'll pass the baskets today, and we also have auto giving, which you can talk with Linda Han at the info desk or Mitzi Hughes, and they'll help you to set that up if you like to just know that your gift is going to happen every week, every month. Before we pass the baskets, though, I invite our ushers to stand and hold the space for our offering ritual. And I invite you to repeat after me. I bless my gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does wonderful work in the world. And so it is. Ushers, please receive the gift.
I am connected to this divine source of love that guides me through this world. I make an impact with each being I meet. Today is exactly what I need for my highest good. For my highest good, I am worthy. For my highest good, for my highest good, I am worthy. I am accepted by this divine source of love that rises through this world. I make an impact with each heartbeat. I am exactly who I need for my highest good, for my highest good. I am worthy for my highest good. For my highest good, I am worthy. I am connected
Thank you for all of the gifts that you share with. I'd like to invite Reverend Tar up now to tell us about what is going on in our beautiful community.
Actually, we're going to start with a little bit more appreciation for Reverend Russ, his invitation from othering into oneness. So, I'm going to give you some of the highlights to the various opportunities that are available for us in our community. First off, every year our center identifies 12 outstanding not-for-profits in our organization and provides support to them. Today is your very last day to go online and support the community, the nonprofit community that speaks to you, especially if it's one that offers us here in this community a way to engage with them as volunteers or providing necessary support. So today's the last day. If you've been meaning to do it, do it. It's a new month, and there are a variety of classes starting soon. As Reverend Russ mentioned, Dr. Edwards' 3-week course, Your Authentic Innate Goodness, begins tomorrow. In it, you'll explore what life would be like if you simply accepted your inherent goodness and allowed that goodness to be the foundation of your life. As a class participant, you will create a personal pledge of spiritual allegiance, your own I believe statement, and a personal list of values that matter to you. By the way, everyone who's in the class will get a copy of Dr. Edwards' book, Ordinary Goodness. This Thursday, August 8th, practitioner Kathy Galvin's Enneagram class returns. She says it's a class that offers insights into this ancient spiritual system designed to help us discover our strengths and areas for growth. Let me translate that into one of my experiences. I know that I am afraid of conflict, that I do not like it. What I didn't know until Kathy's class was that part of what infuses that is I like to stand in the background and let other people get all the light. That's wonderful, except that that means other people don't always see my light. And Kathy's class has helped me to understand that. So I encourage you, if you haven't yet considered taking it, to look into it. And Kathy, would you stand up for a minute? She's here if you have questions to ask her about the class. All right, thank you. There's something else coming up on August 13th at 6 p.m. You can find out what it means to be a member of this center, an official member, not only part of our beloved community. So if you're interested in that, check in with Linda Han at the info desk. And finally, I am bringing forward a book study which starts on August 15th. It's based on this little book, Wholehearted, subtitle, Slow Down, Help Out, Wake Up. It's based on the Bodhisattva path, and we're going to look at some of the chapters and discuss them, and then in community, explore what the heck it might mean in our life. Each chapter has some questions. Here's what's a part of inviting freshness through not knowing. First, the focus quote. The first problem for all of us is not to learn, but to unlearn. And a couple of the questions he invites us to contemplate, or in our case, discuss in our circle. How can you practice not responding to your own reactivity in a habitual way? How does it feel to bear witness to your experience and not have to react in the same habitual way? How do you learn how to pause? If you're interested, come talk to me. You sign up, and we will start after I come back from Mexico, where I'm actually with the Latin American community, which is amazing. Finally, every year, Project Sleep Warm volunteers create quilts for the unsheltered population in Santa Rosa. Today is the first day of the raffle for the beautiful quilt you see out in the social hall just as you enter from the doors into the parking lot. Your raffle tickets help volunteers buy the batting that makes those quilts not only beautiful, but warm and cozy. You can buy tickets in the bookstore. And now, here's a video from Chris Kelly. Yes, Chris Kelly, I know here's Chris, the coffee lady, and much more. It's about our Circles for Spiritual Connection, which is yet another way to come together in spiritual community.
Hi, I'm Chris Kelly, and the lady you might recognize pouring coffee on Sunday morning. But I'm here today to talk to you about Circles for Spiritual Connection. I finished facilitating my first group, and what a joyful experience. The friendship and connections within the group were wonderful. We learned so much about each other, bonded, and shared our perceptions of the Sunday service talk. It was invigorating and stimulating to hear others' interpretations of the topics mentioned by the Sunday speaker. The benefit of a small group is invaluable. To connect on a deeper level is so rewarding the center becomes family. Come sign up for an 8-week session and experience the love, acceptance, and relationship that all of us long for. We meet for 1.5 hours, one time a week, either in person or Zoom. There are folks wearing name tags that say, "Ask me about circles," and they can answer any questions or concerns you might have. Also, there's a sign-up sheet and flyer on the information desk. Someone will follow up and contact you and give you all the information as needed. Circles are one of the ways to enjoy and participate in the Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Rosa. Let's make circles an integral part of the center.
Thank you, Reverend Tar, for telling us about what's going on. And thank you, Chris Kelly, for sharing that video with us. I just wanted to share my own experience with circles. When I first started my spiritual journey, one of the things that I was looking for was finding my way into a small group of like-minded people so that I could discuss this thing called spirituality, because I knew I had no idea what this thing was, and I wanted some help, and I wanted to talk about it with friends and to make friends that allowed me to connect on a deeper level. And that's what our circles are. It's a way for you to go deeper, to build new friendships with people that maybe you don't know, but you have the common interest of what is this thing called the science of mind, and how does it work, and how can we use it in our lives? So I really encourage you to check out the circles. We do have those sign-up sheets over at the info desk. Don't worry, you're not signing up for a circle, you're just signing up to get more info. And Chris Kelly is fabulous. She will reach out to you and let you know everything that you need to know about how you can get plugged in, should you so choose. So I'm really excited to see what September holds for us for our next term. Okay, it's time for us to close out our service. Before we close our service, though, if there is anything challenging going on in your life, if you're having a hard time, or if you just like to spend some time with one of our practitioners who can affirm that inherent goodness within you, I invite you to take advantage of after-service prayer. If you're here in the sanctuary, you can go over to the white table over there, and one of those fabulous ladies will help you get matched up with a practitioner who will pray for whatever your heart desires. We also have Zoom prayer that's confidential, and you can go to our Zoom link that our live streamers, I suspect, see on screen right now, and they will pray for you there as well. So please take advantage of that. All right, I invite you to stand as you're able and repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind, life is in my body, and life is in my affairs. I think it, I feel it, and I accept it, just the way that it is, just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. please know with me that you are never alone. That Spirit is right where you are, that you have only to look within at any moment to know that you're guided, sustained, and inspired by a presence that expresses itself as you in this world. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly so that in everything that we do and say and think, we honor this presence within. And so it is. Enjoy the closing music and have a wonderful week.